Hi, everyone, and welcome to this podcast is in beta. I'm your host, Erezebeta, and we're here to deep dive into the minds of the content creators that you love. Here today, we have the CEO of nonprofit organization Pause Your Games, Josh Tells Time. Let's just jump into it. So, Josh, welcome.
Thanks
You
for having me.
you are the second person now to be on this podcast is in beta, so I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. I'm honored that you would ask me to be on. So
So Josh, want to tell you a little bit about yourself and what you do?
sure. My name is Josh Hoffman. I go by Josh Tells Time online, and my gamer friends know me as Clock. I'm the founder of Pause Your Game, and Pause Your Game is a 501c3 animal activist group. And what we do is we help raise money, awareness, other resources for local animal shelters, both municipal and private. Through the gaming community. And what that looks like is streaming, in person events, tournaments, competitions, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Well, nice. When did you actually fund Pause Your Games?
so in 2017, I came up with the idea and I founded it in 2018. So it is approximately, it's coming up on 3 years. So.
Nice. Are you gonna do like any special events for the anniversary of it?
We hadn't planned on it, but possibly. I can throw that by the person that's doing our events for us. So,
Nice. Well, because you now just developed a stream team.
correct. Yeah, we had one last year, and unfortunately, with COVID and a couple other personal issues that myself and other people on staff had, we weren't really able to keep up with and do more with them. So, the beginning of this year, we relaunched, and it's been fantastic. Everybody's been awesome. Getting to know everybody, who they are, what they do. It's been great. So
Yeah, I one of the things that I found interesting about the stream team is you didn't just get gaming streamers, you got a VTuber, you got a music
right,
streamer. It's pretty interesting to see everyone diversify and like basically see the crowdfunding from these different types of communities that don't necessarily intersect.
right. Gamers are like there's all different facets of them. It like I kind of look like a gamer. I'm a nerdy white dude, but you have people like you, women, men of it's y- the gamer now. When you think about a gamer, you can't really picture anything because everybody's a gamer. So it's anybody who plays a video game is a gamer. So
And one of the other things is that pretty much everyone loves animals. Everyone wants to help.
right,
Everyone wants to get involved in some way. And for a lot of people, it's either not having access to volunteer programs or really knowing their municipal shelter in the area. Um, so sometimes it's, the most that people can contribute is either by raising money or donating. So this does
correct.
kind of put and as far as I wonder if you know this because I tried looking into it and I couldn't find anything. But is Pause Your Games the only like gamer centric and animal welfare based charity? That's what I thought.
Yep, we're the first and only. There's a couple other rescues that do like streaming events. Like I know the Humane Society, they have one in April.
Oh, nice.
They're doing. They have it every year, but we are the first and only gamer community driven animal rescue. So,
That's pretty impressive. I did see that I saw that the ASPCA was on Tiltify,
mhm.
which I was a little surprised at. And I think wonder do they have a channel, a streaming channel, like a Twitch channel?
I don't think they do. No. I think the Humane Society does. They're not partnered though. So, which I'm also surprised about. But
It's so crazy to me.
no.
Just get good internet, set up a webcam in, like, the kitten nursery, and
Yeah.
just stream 24/7 kittens pooping, purring, and sleeping. Like, that's all you need to do, and you bam, you got a channel that's up 24 hours a day with just a cat cam.
Mhm. Yep.
It really does surprise
Uh,
me that
it
more
it
places aren't doing
it's
that.
because I don't either. It's weird because the larger places aren't really doing it, and you would think they would, but what I've noticed with the smaller shelters a lot of times is that even not even shelters like private rescue groups, they're one or two people running the entire operation, and then they have fosters and stuff like that, and a lot of them don't even have a website or don't even know how to work a computer.
Oh
Um,
god, yeah.
so at that point, you're trying to get them to sign up to Twitch or any of these other live streaming platforms. They're like, "What are you talking about, huh?" It's interesting talking to these rescues when you're mentioning like video games and technology and other stuff. Most of them are women in their 50s and 60s, and yeah, it it's funny because I am not the normal person in animal rescue. So
Okay, so it's true. Like, I don't wanna say that, 1, there is no specific look or stereotype to an
mm-mm,
animal
mm-mm.
rescuer, but I will say, having worked in animal rescue for half a decade, it is mostly older women,
Mhm.
generally single, or
Yep.
at least with no kids,
Hmm.
that are doing this, and what's crazy is most of them have full-time jobs, but
Right.
also run a rescue full-time, and they just have a
Right.
few connections of fosters.
Hmm.
They have a connection at, like, Petco for, adoption events and things like that,
Yep.
and it's and I guess, like, one of the things that always kinda shocked me was, you know, like, at the New York City animal shelter, getting any kind of, like, actual extended maternity leave or something like that, good luck. When most of the
Hmm.
workers were women,
Right.
um, it is. It's pretty impressive to see how diverse it is, though, when it comes to the gaming community. Because, yeah, we
Correct.
got the stream team that we have, it's not all women.
No,
I almost feel like it's either split pretty 50-50, might even be more
I I think there's more women than
there
men
is.
on it.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think it's like 70-30. I
ah,
want to say. Maybe I don't know, maybe a little less. But yeah, it, it's it it's interesting because there's 165 million people in the United States that play video games, I'm pretty sure.
mhm,
And there's 30 million people that are looking to bring in a pet in their home every year, usually.
yeah.
Um, and 8 million animals come through animal shelters per year. And it's interesting. So if we can take or get 5% of gamers to start volunteering or fostering at local shelters and doing more with shelter reform and things of that nature, then we could stop euthanasia in as little as tomorrow. But that would be in a perfect world and we would get, 5% immediately. I know that's not going to happen, but we could make it happen if, we had the the uh the community. So, and I believe that the gaming community is a majority of them that I've talked to, they love animals. There's pet cams and other things like that when
Everybody
gamers are
has a
playing
cat
video games.
emote. I'm
Right.
wearing cat ears at the
See,
moment.
there you go. Okay. So yeah, it's yeah, that's it, it's very interesting because every time people talk to us and ask us like, "What are you?" and we tell them what we are, and they like freak out because they're like, "Oh my god, we've never heard of something like this before. How do we get involved?" And it's just a matter of getting in front of more people and building our community up. And yeah, a lot of people don't even know that you can foster animals, or what fostering an animal is, or how many animals are actually killed in shelters per year. And it's a lot of fun to educate the public about that when they don't know, because when they find out, there's like a spark that lights and they're like, well, we got to do something about this. And it's like, "Mm, yeah, we do. That's why we're here." So yeah, it's very cool. It's very, very cool.
Now, you and I met
Hmm.
via Twitter.
Yeah. Hmm. Yep.
Um, and to kind of TLDR it for, the audience, when one of your staff members had posted an article that
Hmm.
was written by, was it the New York Post or,
I think it was New York Post. Yeah.
yeah, um, about the shelter in New York City animal care centers that I used to work at. And it
Hmm.
was a hit piece.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Hmm. Definitely hippies.
but the thing is that to someone who has not worked there,
Right.
it just seems like this is the most god awful place ever.
Hmm.
Um, because they had a video of this dog who is obviously terrified and not wanting to walk, and this person, holding a leash firmly and just trying to slowly move with the dog.
Right.
Um, and the way they write it, they personify it that the dog knows that it's about to die, like all
Hmm.
of these things. Um, but upon looking into it, I was able to be like, no, this the way this is being painted isn't correct, because
Right.
what wasn't fully being discussed was the fact that the dog had a bite history, which automatically meant that,
Oh yeah, that like goes auto on the euthanasia list right there.
well, no, it's not even necessarily auto on the euthanasia list. One, it had a bite history, and two, it bit a kid, but it's not even that. It's not the shelter's decision on that euthanasia. What
Mm,
happens is the Department of Health, they get involved. And the dog has to go on a 10-day quarantine to start with, because that's just state law to check for rabies, essentially.
right.
Um, but what the shelter will do is they use their behaviors. They try to spend time with the dog. They try to understand, like, what is this dog going to be a risk to society, kind of thing. There are
Mhm,
a lot of bite case. There have been quite a few bite cases that did go to rescue.
mhm.
That were released by the Department of Health. There were also sometimes bite cases that went to rescue that I don't feel should have ever been allowed to go to
Oh, yeah.
rescue.
Mhm.
Um, that and I hate to say it, but
It's
it's it's articles like that that sometimes get an animal to go to a rescue
Mhm.
that shouldn't have. And I think one time there was even a case where that had happened. The rescue put it into an adoptive home, and the dog bit another kid again. And it just becomes this.
a lot of shelters that I've seen, uh, not a lot of them, but a good amount of them, especially if they're a public shelter in Florida even, they don't do home checks or they don't do background checks,
Yeah.
and that also stinks because they don't vet the dog before they put the dog in a home. Uh, a lot of private shelters, like the one that I'm involved in, um, with Gina here to my what is this? My right? Yeah, my right. Um, she they came out to where I live and they made sure that everything was cool. They made sure that Charlie on the couch over there, that she was cool with her, and they did a background check on me to make sure that I'm legit. And it was a process, and it took 2 weeks before they allowed me to be a foster. But a lot of shelters don't do that, especially public, and it's either because A, they don't have the means to do it because the community just isn't backing them, or B, because their staff just isn't utilized correctly. Or there's a there's a lot of, I don't want to say excuses because they're not really excuses. There's just a lot of
Well,
uh,
here's where it gets
hmm,
difficult.
right.
So
Hmm.
if you have a private, and I guess also I'll explain to everyone. When we're
Yeah,
saying private and municipal, the term that a lot of people would hear it would normally be like kill or no kill, but it doesn't
right.
really accurately depict what the two are.
Correct. I
um,
don't like those terms personally.
yeah,
I
no.
think they're I believe they're more for marketing purposes and getting
Oh,
people to be like,
100%.
"Oh,"
And they're
like,
not accurate.
no,
Like they're ugh.
it no kill should be in quotes, and so should kill. Do you want me to explain it to your audience, or would you like
Yeah,
to?
no, no, you go ahead.
So the difference between a municipal or a public shelter or a kill shelter and a private or a no-kill shelter is municipal shelters are city owned and operated essentially. They're run on taxpayer money, direct donations. Sometimes they get big donations from donors, but that's usually doesn't happen very often. Um, and they have to take in every single animal that comes through animal control. And unfortunately, a lot of times they can't find homes for perfectly healthy animals and they have to get rid of them. And the only way to get rid of them is to euthanize them, to make room for other animals that are brought in. And it's sad and it sucks. Um, it- but then there's private shelters. Private shelters have the luxury of picking their own animals and who comes in and who goes out. So they don't have to pick up every single animal that comes through their door. They can deny people, they can deny pets to come in. And that's how you get no kill because technically they're not killing if they don't have to bring in animals. And yeah, that's the two big differences between kill and no kill.
Yeah, the
And
option of being able to select what animals you take on as a
correct.
responsibility versus you legally are bound to take in every animal.
Right.
Um,
Mhm.
Now there's a few things though that I would say when it comes to and why home checks are a little bit harder. You know, the shelter I worked at had they may have expanded to having more departments, but we had an adoptions team that was
Mhm.
very good. Their job was mostly to feel out the person, and at the end of the day it was and they would ask for like, you know, a vet um reference, things like that. You couldn't adopt to someone, like, say you're married and the wife comes in to adopt, the husband would have to come in too. You can't
Mhm.
bring just an animal home to, you know, a person who doesn't know.
Right.
Um, you also, if the animal was rated above beginner, but you'd never had an animal before, you couldn't adopt that one specifically. You'd had to go with an animal that had a behavior rating of, you know, chill.
Right. Mhm. Easy, yeah.
But you know, and we had an admissions department that was actually a really great addition. And what their job was really getting to try and get as much information about the animals from the people surrendering as possible. This
Mhm.
helped immensely. This helped behavior so that they
Oh,
were
yeah.
aware of certain things. It helped my department, which was the basically rescue department, and my job was to contact other rescues to take animals.
Mhm.
Um, because I was able to get a little bit of a backstory, which sometimes made it that I could paint a little bit of a picture that could help them raise more money to actually take on the animal.
Mhm. Oh,
Um,
so I'm gonna stop you right there. So for your audience, a lot of times what will happen, what Beta was just describing, is if you're at a public shelter, if you're a smart public shelter, you have a rescue partner program. And what that is that private shelters will partner with public shelters
mm,
and people like Beta will call the private shelter to come and, say, "Hey, we have a dog here. We need you to pull it. Otherwise, it's going to go out the back door instead of the front door." So a lot of private shelters will partner with public shelters just to save more animals. So yeah.
Now, legally, and this is the tricky part. So when we talk about the euthanasia thing, legally speaking, the animal could be euthanized for one of two reasons. Well, no, one of three. The third one is Department of Health is making the decision, but we have to do it. Like
Right.
we have the facility to conduct it, and that decision's outside of our hands.
Mhm.
But the first two would be behaviorally speaking, the animal and it doesn't just get euthanized, it would get put on a euthanasia list, which would be
Correct.
up for 24 hours, and rescues would have the option to pull animals. Also, the public would have the option, if the animal was safe enough, uh,
Mhm.
to also adopt the animal. So there was, we had that. That would be one reason. The other would be medical.
Mhm.
Um, if the animal got sick while at the shelter, which is very common. I believe it's 99% of
Oh, yeah.
cats have feline herpes, which can
Mhm.
cause upper respiratory infections, and it's just brought out by stress. And of course, they're going to be stressed.
Oh, yeah. Shelter
Um,
environment is not a fun place
no,
for yeah,
it's not.
it's not.
It's loud.
Shelter
They never really
yeah.
get sleep. It's
Shel
horrible.
yeah, the shelters are not a happy environment. You'd think they would be because, what people are doing, they're saving animals, but it's really not. It's super depressing and sad and yeah.
It's over. Yeah,
It's
it's incredibly overwhelming.
oh yeah. Mhm.
It you know it's the equivalent of you and I don't want to go to a human, like a homeless shelter. Like that is an environment that is extraordinarily stressful and
Mhm.
depressing and
It's like
overstimulating and
jail.
terrifying. Yes, it is. It's very much like a jail type sense. When at the end of the day, the people that are, trying to that are kind of orchestrating it, they're doing it to protect you, to give you a place.
Right.
Um, but so yeah, so the medical thing, and there were cases where like an animal comes in and the case, like, the humane thing to do is to euthanize it.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Um
100%.
so it wasn't for an animal to get euthanized, and now even more so, like when I first started at that shelter, we had high 70s, low 80s, I feel
Mhm.
like. By the time I left, we were we were breaching 90% live
That's
release.
save rate?
Uh-huh.
Okay, live release. Nice.
Which
Okay.
technically, to be considered, because whoever made up the no-kill thing,
Mhm.
you have to be 90%.
I
Uh,
I I know who it is. I'm not gonna name drop though.
there actually is a person that created that.
Yeah, huh? It's Nathan Winograd. He's a animal rights lawyer. Incredibly intelligent. And yeah, he came up with the entire concept, and he's an interesting human. He's got a blog and everything. I'll send you his info so you can
Yeah,
check him out.
I
He
wouldn't mind looking at that.
okay, yeah. I'll shoot it over to you.
I'll be
But
like,
yeah,
"You
he's
son of
the
a bee."
right. No, he is the founder of No Kill movement. So yeah.
Um, Again, I don't it's not that I don't hate the idea, it's just that I is he the type of
Because
person
it's
that he
not it's
created
not
no kill, but then everybody else decide, "Oh, well, if you're not no kill, then you're kill."
I think maybe, but then
Okay.
he kind of jumped on the bandwagon and yeah, now he's extremely in your face, especially with like public shelters. And so a lot of people do not like him in the animal rights community. And it's mainly just because of how forceful he is with shelter reform and things of that nature. So yeah, he's he's an interesting human. I'll send you his info. I even have his book. So yeah, he's written a couple.
Eh,
Um,
well, I mean, it's so tough. I remember when I was dating
mhm.
and working at the animal shelter, I had no effing time to myself. Like I had to cancel
Right.
dates because I remember one time I was supposed to be walking towards a restaurant and I got a call about like 12 bottle babies, and it was, do I go to dinner and
Yep.
have a date, or do I and these kittens get euthanized? Or do I turn back around, go home, start calling all the rescues, open a bottle of whiskey, and, find placement for them
Yep.
and pass out? Like, and always ended up being the pass out. Uh, but I remember when even like having to when I put on my profile, because I had to tell people, like, look, I'm not super available all the time. I'm really, really busy.
Right.
And I put on my profile that I worked in animal welfare. I had to start screening people before I went on fucking dates.
Hmm.
I remember one time I was talking to a dude and I'm like, okay, let's call first. Let's have a talk. He's like, so you work at the animal shelter? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, do you guys euthanize? I'm like, oh boy. And I'm like, yes, we do. But
Here you go, one of
I
these.
run a program that is, making it that there aren't, unless if it's medically necessary or, yada yada. He's like, I don't get it. He's like, there's 7 million people in New York City. Like,
Mhm.
why can't
But
everyone
but
just foster?
but the problem is that 7 million people in New York City aren't looking for an animal at the same time
No.
at the shelter. And that's like, there might be like one a day, maybe two a day, maybe nobody a day, maybe there's 20 a day. It's not it's not as like as people would think. It's not an overnight process as much as you want it to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, people don't, normal everyday people who don't volunteer or get involved are more oh, what's a nice word? I like to call them armchair activists because they don't they just read articles and they don't actually go to the shelter to see what's going on or how it's operated or any of that crap. So they're running off of like pure ignorance. And unfortunately that's probably what you had with your date.
Oh yeah, no, because
It's one of
I ended up
those.
I turned it
Yeah.
on him. I said, well, you know what? You're absolutely right. I'm like, so if I get in a litter tomorrow, let's just say 4 bottle babies, but they're only about a day old. And will you be able to like give them like a heat source because they can't regulate their own heat? Also, they can't see and they can't hear, but they can smell. So they're just going to scream a lot. And you're going to have to feed them, but very carefully so that you don't kill them by accident. And then you have to rub their butts to make them poo and then rub their wee wees to make them pee. Like, would
Mm.
you be able to do this? Oh, by the way, you do that every hour. And he's like, well, I can't do it. And I said,
Oh,
that's what
well,
everybody fucking says.
right. Yeah.
Like,
Well, there's 7 million others like you in New York
yes.
that can't either. So it's,
So it's,
you know, people just need to be, they need to be educated on what actually goes on in shelters. And a lot of times it's not like a happy place. Like I'll give you an example. A private shelter that's down here in Florida, I won't mention their name. However, they have a 3 bite rule that if a dog at the shelter bites one of their staff or bites, a foster or an adopter, if it comes back to the shelter, hey,
oh, I hate you.
no, 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 Gina. If it comes back to the shelter, they have a building that's behind their actual shelter, and they put the dogs in there that are problematic, and they live there the rest of their life. They're no longer allowed to be adopted. They don't touch grass. It's basically like that's a jail cell. And to me, that alone, like quote unquote no kill, that's inhumane. I'm sorry.
That is
Just
absolutely inhumane.
right, but that's what they do. And I went there one day to volunteer and I
Oof.
asked about the building and they were like, "Oh, that's where the behavioral animals go. When an animal hurts somebody 3 times, they go in the back there." And I was like, "Oh, for how long?" They're like, "Well, forever." And it's so if you have a dog that's, 3 months old and they're aggressive and they bite somebody 3 times for the rest of its life, it's going in there even though it's 3 months old. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to be volunteering here then, because that's just cruel and unusual. Like at that point, you're, I don't, the fact that that shelter calls it a no-kill shelter is just asinine to me, and it just it pisses me off as you know an advocate of animals. Like that's a jail cell, and
Well, at the end of the day, like, cause I don't know, for a stupid minute when I first got involved in animal rescue, I was like, I should open my own 501(c)(3. And every once in a while I get the idea where I should do this again. And then I remind myself, I don't hate myself that much.
right, yeah,
And
I clearly do.
yeah, I mean, But I mean, like, opening trying with the plans of eventually opening, like, a brick and mortar on my own. And
Mhm,
and the truth is, that's not me. I'm good at the talk stuff, the
mhm.
negotiations, the placements. Shelter. Um,
There's a lot of pressure in running a shelter,
oh my
um,
god, yes.
and it's like it's gonna sound really funny, but most people get into animal rescue to get away from people because they don't like them and they just want to save animals.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. Like I only deal with people now, and it's it 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 how do I it sucks, but also you have to do it. It's one of those things, but they don't tell you that. You get into animal rescue to save animals, not to deal with people, and it's the exact opposite. You do deal with people. You save animals, but you have to deal with a lot of people. And yeah, it's exhausting, or it can be.
It's I feel like so your your first fundraiser
Mhm.
of this year was all focused on spay and neuter. Isn't it
Mhm.
National Spay and Neuter Day
Uh,
today?
it was on the
It's on February 26th, right?
yeah, I
Or
think so,
5th.
or 25th. I think it's the 25th. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the
Igor was
25th.
supposed to get neutered the next day.
Right.
And
The
my
entire month of February is Spay and Neuter Awareness Month. But yeah, National or Global Spay Day, I think, is February 25th. So yeah.
so that when that was going on, were you I guess what were your plans as far as the educational part? Like did you feel like it got out more of a message about it with the fundraisers that we did?
Definitely. As far as our nonprofit goes, yes. We've had a lot of uh, uh, we've had a lot of what's the word? Uh, eh, the feelers have gone out, and people have noticed us, and the future I can't tell you on the podcast, but I can tell you privately. But I am like stupid excited about what we're going to be doing, and the potential future of not only Pause Your Game but every single shelter out there. It's it, the what's it called? The fire inside, I guess you could say, has been
Mhm.
lit again after what you guys have done, which is really incredible. Our main goal was 1,500, and you guys uh, raised over $6,000 for us, which is unbelievable. Um, yeah, we paid off all of our spay and neuter expenses, and plus we had some operation costs that we had to cover, and that thank you. um, but yeah, we've had people reach out. We've had people ask us questions about spay and neutering. We've had people ask us questions about fostering, volunteering. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Like, there's like four different kinds of fosters or five different kinds of fosters. Um,
Oh yeah, there's
uh,
hospice, there's
right.
temporary,
Mm-hmm.
neonatal.
Hosp. Right. Mm-hmm. There's like two more. I think I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but it's fun educating the public when the public just doesn't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll dive into my story, I guess, a little bit. So in February of 2017, I attempted to take my own life, and I ended up in a residential treatment center for 2 months. First, I was in a psych ward for 10 days, and the person that actually saved my life was somebody who I met on a video game about 10 years prior to that. And they're pretty much the reason why I'm alive. And while I was in treatment, that's when I came up with Pause Your Game. Um, where the hell was I going with this? I can't, can't remember. Um, but yeah, it's
So this is more than just loving animals and being a passionate animal
oh yeah.
welfare advocate. This
Hmm.
is a it's what partly like has saved you kind of thing.
Oh yeah. One of the members on our board, his name is Ian. He's not the one that saved my life. Dave is who saved my life, and he's on the board too. Um, and I actually set Dave and his wife up together, and they have
Oh,
two kids. And yeah, when I messaged Dave, he was the only one I reached out to when I pretty much made the decision to kill myself. And the reason why I attempted was because my first rescue dog that I had after my grandmother, Charlotte, passed away. Um, she was basically the security blanket that I needed. And then in 2016, I moved in with Dave and his wife and his kids for a year. And I didn't know really what seasonal depression was. And when you live in Florida, you you haven't experienced snow or any other season besides summer. So when I went up there, it was great at first, and then it became miserable. And in August, I needed to get my appendix out, and then pretty much from there, yeah. And the uh, the big hit was when I had to put Sophie to sleep. And I messaged Dave and I said, when your kids grow up, make sure they don't know how much of a loser I was. And he was like, well, what are you talking about? And I was like, just promise me you'll leave me out of any story you tell. Um, then he was like, I'm not going to do that. What are you talking about? And he immediately called my mom, and she called my aunt who I was living with at the time, and they found me. And 3 days later, I ended up in a psych ward for 10 days, and yeah, and then residential treatment for 2 months. And it's tough. But what Ian said to me, going back to that, um, because I didn't want to go to treatment because I really wanted to die. I just, and Ian messaged me, and I've known Ian as long as Dave, and we all met on World of Warcraft, believe it or not. Um, and he said, I'm going to tell you the same thing that you told me because I've saved Ian probably four or five times from attempts. He suffers from schizophrenia and bipolar really bad. And he said, I'm going to tell you the same thing you told me. You can't go anywhere because Sophie wouldn't want you to. She would want you to save more animals. So you have to stay here and save more animals. And so, yeah, I'm here and I'm saving animals. So, yeah, it's been definitely been a journey. Um, it's yeah, yeah.
I
It's bittersweet, but it, it's how do I it hasn't really been a fun journey or like a happy one, but yeah, I look at dogs like Gina, and I look at dogs like Charlie. Like Charlie was in the shelter that she was at for a year and a half before I adopted her, and her sister was in there even longer. And my family, when our family dog passed away, they adopted her sister. So when I go over there, they're crazy together, absolutely love each other. And Gina here is hospice. She probably has max 2 years to live. We're going to the vet tomorrow to make sure that she's still healthy enough to keep going.
yeah.
And yeah, it's dogs like them that I I wake up in the morning and I my one buddy, Rixus, shout out to him. Um, he said that I should practice gratitude. So what I do is I kiss Charlie on the the face as soon as I get up, and I say, "Thank you for loving me." And then I kiss Gina on the face, and I say, "Thank you for being here." And then I have a ring, you guys can see, but it's
Oh.
a cremation ring, and I have
Oh.
Sophie's ashes in here. And I kiss the ring and I say, "Thank you for everything." So those are the three gratitude things that I have. So yeah, anyway, that's it's animals to me are, you know, so here's how I describe it. A gamer saved my life, and rescue dogs gave me a purpose for it. So, yeah, that's
That's
that's my story.
I was during the last minute of that, Mr. Poof decided to start walking around me again, and in a fear that he would turn off the computer, I had to grab him real quick. I'm so sorry. But I heard everything. It's there there is something interesting about how most people who actually get involved in animal rescue, the mental health aspect of it. Like my BBs are my family.
Mhm,
And in 2015, when I was working at the shelter, 6 months after my mom passed away, my partner of 5 years broke up with me, but didn't move out. So they just lived in the room next door to me. I was
that's
work
healthy.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
peak kitten season. I was so burned out and depressed and just all that, and I got really drunk and tried to take my own life.
Mhm,
More depressing is I left Freebird at full volume on repeat the whole fucking night. No one checked on me.
mhm,
No one checked on me. And I woke up vomiting. Like I was already, it was just, yeah. And I looked over and I saw my cat Mousy, and I was just like, oh my God, if I had actually been successful, the first thought that came to my mind is an ambulance shows up, they bring in a stretcher, they're gonna open the front door. Like, I live in New York City, like, a BB could just run out into the road. And I had
mhm,
four of them.
yeah,
And that feeling of how, for me, that I had been so selfish that I would have left them to have no one,
mhm,
I never did it again.
yeah.
And when
Have
Mhm.
no, go on, sorry.
Well, I was gonna say that when a friend of mine went through almost the exact same thing the next year, after he was recovering, I'm like, you need to get a cat. Like, you need to get a
Mhm,
cat. Get a cat. And he did.
yeah.
Very
The animals are great. They're y they don't judge you when you do stupid things, and yeah, they're 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 there for you whenever you need them, and they're great. So I love I yeah, they're my family. I was gonna say, have you seen Afterlife on Netflix by Ricky Gervais?
I haven't. It's good.
Okay, you should definitely watch it. Everybody who's listening should definitely watch it. He just to give you a brief intro, he loses his wife to cancer, and he tries to kill himself afterwards, and he's, like, super nihilistic. Everybody everybody who watches the show is like, "Wow, this guy's you," and I'm like, "Thank you, I appreciate that." He's super honest to the point of where it's, like, almost too much for people, but, there's one scene in the show where he talks about he talks about waking up and attempting to take his own life, and then he decides not to, and his brother-in-law, who's, the brother of his, uh, deceased wife, um, he goes, "Well, why didn't you?" And Ricky Gervais replies with, "Well, it was the look on the dog's face. I just, that's why." And that it's pretty much it. It's I wake up and I kiss them both, and I thank them for being here. And yeah, they are my serotonin that I need, because unfortunately my brain does not make it enough.
Same here. I'm telling you, it's there's something about it though. Like if I smell the top of Mousy's head or like just like
Mhm.
get to play with Mr. Poof's poofiness, like it's this surge. Like I could happily spend the rest of my life single as long as I've got my BBs. Like
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm Gucci. We're
Mhm.
fine.
Right. And that's the thing. I don't think my parents quite understand that, because they
Nah.
want grandbabies and blah 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 blah. But
Oh yeah, no.
I
I'm
don't know.
like I'm good.
There are two things that I'm severely allergic to:
Children.
cats and children. And Charlie, unfortunately, loves both of them. And yeah, so uh, yeah, people are. Yeah. Anyway,
So you're fine. Like in all
yeah.
honesty, I have an allergy to cats too. I just take an antihistamine every single day of my life.
Mhm.
Um
Oh, don't get me wrong.
I don't think it works though for kids,
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
which I think,
Yeah.
just means
Don't
c'est
get me
la vie.
wrong. I enjoy other people's children, but like get them away from me. Like Dave and Aaron's kids absolutely loved them. They were perfect. And they loved me, but I just no, not for me. I don't think I could have my own. No. I have two dogs. I don't need children. Anyway.
Yeah, I think about that. I'm like unless if the kid came with an automatic robot litter box, like and then didn't try to get in it, like or maybe if the
Mhm.
kid learned how to use a litter box, even better, cuz I can deal with that. Yeah, no, kids it is weird. It's like you're either a breeder or you're like the
Mhm.
person who's all about spray and neuter and just all about
Yeah.
animals. You're either a human
Yeah.
breeder or you're the other.
I'm definitely spaying and neuter. 100%. It's oh
So
yeah.
so what would you like to see for the rest of 2021 with Pause Your Games?
Ooh. So right now we're working on our fundraising platform. We're building it and we are going to launch it, I'm hoping, within the next few months. With that being said, there's talks of other things that are possibly going to happen with that, and I can't talk about it publicly.
No, that's fine.
Um, but what we're uh, long term, we want to open up our own shelter down here
Mhm.
in Florida. Um, it's going to be designed in a way that's not your normal everyday shelter. So we're calling it a barcade right now. It's basically a like half arcade, half animal shelter, and all of the kennels are going to be designed like rooms, and there's going to be game systems in them. And volunteers can come and actually play video games with the animals that are socialized enough to do that. And the other animals will be trained by staff. And I will be one of those staff. Hi. Um, a fun fact: I'm getting my behavioral animal behavioral degree and certification in dog training and hopefully cat training, which would be pretty cool. But that's what I'm personally working on, so that when we do launch a shelter, I'm responsible for the dogs and what they have going on and their mental stimulus and everything else. Because, like we said earlier, shelters are not a fun environment, but I'm planning on making it as fun for them as humanly possible. No pun intended. So
I mean,
there's yeah.
I love the idea. I 100% love the idea. And it is doable. Like if anyone
Oh.
is hearing this and goes, "Oh, but how are the animals going to handle the sound?" One, headset. Two, I've been to the yeah, just have headsets connected to consoles. And two, at the ASPCA, their adoption ward would have individual rooms,
Mhm.
and it was impressive because you walk down this hallway and you can't hear anybody barking. A
Right.
little messed up thing though was when you go into the room, it's very loud for them because it was soundproof well so that people coming in to adopt didn't hear anything.
Right.
But if you went in there, it was really loud. And then what was messed up is the vents made it that all the dogs could hear all the other dogs. And I'm just like, you
Yep.
couldn't have taken a few more of your ASPCA millions of dollars and
Mhm.
actually like done this a little bit better.
Yeah.
But there are
No.
ways of doing that. That would, I mean, I could see someone should invest in that because in all honesty, that would be amazing
Please.
chain to like almost like a
Please.
chain experience.
That's so
It's like a
that's
cat
exactly
cafe
what
meets
right.
gaming.
That's what we're trying to accomplish. So we're not just going to be launching in Florida. Yes, at first I want to launch in Florida
Well,
so we
you're in Florida,
can
makes sense.
like prove yeah, prove the concept there. But I would love a, Pause Your Game shelter in every state. It's necessary and it's needed because of how many animals show up in shelters per year. And I have no issues with taking behavioral cases at all. If a It might take a year or two to calm a dog down and train it down, but eventually it takes time. And a lot of dogs and that are put down usually have behavioral issues.
Yeah.
And the public shelters don't have the means to train them
Do the
or like you've seen.
rehabilitation. Yeah.
Right. And it sucks. So
I mean, even some
it's one of
private
the things that
shelters
yeah.
end up
Mhm.
just, putting these oh God, they put them in some foster home and you're just like,
Mhm.
well, and I get it because to a certain degree, historically, behavior departments are now way more invested in.
Oh,
But
yeah.
when shelters were first coming around, there was no such thing as a behavior department or even a behavioral assessment.
No,
Um,
there wasn't. And,
so a lot of
it's,
private rescues don't trust the assessments of
right.
municipal shelters.
No, they don't. And it's sad and it sucks, but that's just the reality of it is they don't have the means or the availability to vet, whether or not the dog is kid friendly or whether or not the dog is dog friendly. Like for instance, I couldn't bring one of my fosters um home with me or actually, sorry, I could bring them home with me. I couldn't take Charlie to the shelter to
Ah,
meet the dog first to make
yeah.
sure that they were okay together.
Hmm.
So it's like, why? Well, it's a liability,
Yeah.
and
Like they'll do dog to
it's
dog interactions with two dogs under their custody.
right.
Like, and they'll be
Hmm.
like, okay, so you didn't bite him, so they get along. But yeah,
Correct.
you can't. And it's the same thing with like, it's not like we have a test kid we keep in the closet where we can just like test it
Right.
out, or a cat that we're gonna just torture and be like, cat, we'd like to put you up against every dog and see how you do. So,
Right. Hmm.
so, and also at the same time, sometimes some dogs are completely shut down when they're at the shelter, and they
Right.
might seem super chill, but it's actually
Correct.
that they're shut down. And then when you get them in a home environment, you see a different behavioral entirely.
Totally different. Yep.
Um,
And it's a lot of I don't want to say people are ignorant to that, but it's not marketed enough that, hey, this dog is terrified right now and is, pissing and shitting itself in the cage. But as soon as you bring it home, it could be like the biggest mush ever and like love you to death. Or it could do the same thing. It's like I had a foster recently named Bonnie. She was she was in bad shape. She's probably had, if I had to guess, probably over 20 litters, maybe.
oh God.
She had like her,
Nips.
everything was awful.
Yeah.
It looked like a cow. She looked like a cow. Um, and Yet she was terrified of me, of Charlie at first, and, super, super shy, and, it took her about a week to open up, but she was scared of wood flooring, she was scared of stairs. I had to pick her up, I had to pick her up the stairs to my apartment, for the first 3 or 4 days until she kinda got used to, what they were, And I think the only reason why she got used to it is because she saw Charlie going up and down them all the time. But she eventually opened up, and she was just this big, goofy, just this big mush. But it took her like 2 weeks to really open up to me. She didn't sleep. I allow Charlie and Gina to sleep on my bed because I don't really care. I know other people do, but whatever.
Oh, that's the
Um,
dumbest thing, by the way, if anyone's listening. Like,
yeah,
it's not like what is it that people feel like, oh, they shouldn't be allowed up on the couch or on the bed because it's like they'll feel like it's too much of a privilege or something, and like I, um,
uh,
I don't know, I want to
whatever.
cuddle my cats, like I want to cuddle my
Right.
dog, like
Mhm.
I want to wake up like I'm in a Tetris position.
Yeah. And so it took her a while, but at first she had her head down, she had her tail between her legs. It was, she was a sad looking dog, and unfortunately that can be a lot of them. And people don't like that doesn't click for them. They're like, "Oh, my dog's broken." Or, it follows me around everywhere. It's annoying. I've had, people return animals to shelters because of that reason. It's funny when you hear the reasons why people return pets to or just give pets away or whatever. But yeah, you need to be y- y- you need to be patient, and the shelter environment is not a patient patient place. Um, in terms of vetting the animals and understanding them and really getting to know their personality, which you've seen. And yeah, so that's mainly why I want to open up a shelter, is because these dogs and cats need a place that is calm, that's not crazy, that doesn't have a dog directly next to them that they can see if they jump up and hear all the time. It's just not especially if that dog is dog reactive. That's even worse. So it's yeah, that's one of the goals that we would like to accomplish, is to open up our own shelter. And we're planning on doing that hopefully by next year. And
Oh my god,
yeah,
okay,
it's
let
it,
me
it's it's a lot
pitch
of fun.
to HyperX to like you should so go to all the gaming companies. Like, say you go to HyperX, right? And you're like, would you like to sponsor this room? We will design it, use all your gear in just this one room. And like, I swear that would be so cool.
There's other ideas like that too. I'll throw one out just so you can munch on it, and your audience can munch on it. Gaming communities, they're everywhere. Uh, a lot of what a lot of people don't know is that there are people with big money, and people with big money will donate to a shelter to get a building at that shelter with
Yeah.
their name on it. What I had come up with is, when we really launch this and we push forward, is that we contact gaming communities to see if they would like to possibly uh stream or run a tournament or something to raise funds to have a building of their own
Ah, it's like the
at
esports
our
puppy
shelter.
bowl.
Yeah. hmm Maybe we'll even host the Puppy Bowl one year.
You know what's
Wouldn't
funny?
that be
I
cool?
actually I got to work with the kittens for the kitten bowl.
That's
Those
cool.
are our
I'm
kittens.
I'm
One
I'm pretty
year,
jealous.
like in 2015.
Okay. That's neat.
I don't remember
But
them.
yes, there's a lot of plans for our future, and it starts with like getting our website up and running, which we've really been neglecting. Uh, so that's first, and then after that, it's sky's the limit. I'm extremely excited about what could possibly happen,
Oh yeah, I love
and
it when you and I start talking. It's just like lots of
well,
ideas.
it's because rescue people and and pause your game is so new and fresh and exciting, and it's the only one of its kind, and yeah, the name alone is just like money,
Oh,
and
it's amazing.
thank you. I actually came up with it in treatment, um, which is, they
Everything
talked
everything happens for a reason in my mind, and that's why
yeah,
we always
well,
have gratitude.
right. Yeah. So uh, the the first day I got to the treatment center, and this is the craziest stupid thing ever. Uh, uh it I walked into the main auditorium where they had group therapy, and my therapist was sitting there, and the other clients were in there, and I walked in and I noticed an urn on one of the walls with a picture of a dog on it, and I was like, okay, curiosity killed the cat. This is what put me in here, so I might as well go check it out. And I walked up to it, and it said, "In loving memory of Sophie." And I turned around and I looked at my therapist and I went, "Is this some kind of fucked up exposure therapy?" And he
Oh
was like,
god.
"I beg your pardon?" And I'm like, "It's the same name as my dog." And he turned white. He was like, "Mm, that's like, there was a dog named Sophie here that a year ago she passed away, and yeah, the she was a service animal to all the clients." And I was like, "Gee, this is going to be great for the next 2 months in here staring at this thing." And he was like, "It's totally coincidence." And it turned out to be. And yeah, there's other stories that I could get into in yeah, why not? I'll tell it. One of the patients came in with a tiny little dog, and she AMA'd with the dog, which, for people who don't know what that means, it's against medical advice. So she left and didn't tell anybody where she went, and she was missing for like 3 or 4 days. She came back and went directly to the psych ward. However, the dog was still there at the treatment center because they picked up the dog, and her family had to come down and get the dog for so the dog stayed there for, I think it was like 4 days or something like that. And it when I tell you this dog was vicious, it was a mini Australian Shepherd, and nobody could get near it without it like eating people, like at like the treatment center staff, any of the clients, like it just hated everybody. And I walked into the office, and I was just like, it needs to be cleaned. So let me rewind a bit. She covered it in charcoal, and she covered herself in charcoal so she could like I get camouflage herself. People with mental illnesses are wild sometimes. Um, so she did that, and this dog is just covered in charcoal, and nobody could go near it to give it a bath. And I volunteered, and I picked the dog up, and it didn't bite me at all. And I walked into the shower with it, and yeah, I gave it a bath, and everybody at the treatment center was like, what did you do?" And I don't know, it's very strange. Like a medium, I had 3 mediums tell me the same thing. I like going to spiritual people because I think when they talk to me, it's interesting. Um, so they said that I have 2 souls, and one of the soul is basically like it's not a dog, but it's basically a dog, and it's just happy and nice and good energy. And then there's another side of me which is more angry, but the dog side, I don't know. It's very animals, even if they're extremely aggressive, are not towards me. And it seems to be a thing after Sophie passed away, which is really kind of weird. I've had people come up to me at dog parks and ask if I'm magic or if I fed their dog, and I'm like, no, why? And they were like, because normally, like, if when they would have somebody pet their animal, or they would go bonkers, especially men. And yeah, there's one time I was petting this dog and just like playing with it, and it was this tiny little white thing, and I hear in the background this young woman go, "Oh my God, Tony, Tony, come here, look, look!" And she's like snapping her fingers, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" And she walked over and she was like, "You're literally the first man that has ever been able to like touch him or do anything with him. My boyfriend can't even even touch him without him eating him." And I just, yeah, that's animals now to me. And it's definitely interesting when you kind of universally tap into that area. And yeah, I mean, it when you walk into the to a treatment center and you're trying to figure out your purpose in life, and you walk into the first group therapy session that you have and your purpose is basically on the wall, um, it's kind of a sign to, maybe there's a reason why you're here.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I look at it. And I'm here to rescue animals now. So
Oh, I mean, I, I think I originally found out about you. I think it was a post. It was a post for a free T-shirt on Twitter.
yeah.
I was like
Hmm.
really excited. I was really excited because I was like, one, I had tried to get a bunch of the local rescues to
Hmm.
just sign up on fucking Tiltify so I could raise some money, and no one would do it. I'm like, I want to get money for you, but they can't figure it out. So like when I
Right.
saw that there was something coming out that was going to be about
Mhm.
combining animal welfare and video game, I'm like, sign me up.
Yep.
I'll take a size large t-shirt.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
and I think you got
yeah.
Ashney to repost it or something, and I
Yeah,
saw it through that.
Ashney. Well, so me and Ashney talk. We're kind of, I wouldn't say we're buddies, but we're like business buddies. Um, and I had a bunch of extra T-shirts because we went to Rooster Teeth. We got invited by Jack Patillo. And yeah, he as soon as he heard about us, he was like, "Whoa, whatever you need, just come on board." And he got us a booth at Rooster Teeth in 2019, and we had a lot of extra T-shirts. And so I was like, you know what? Why don't we just give them away and see what happens? So we tweeted it out, and I think like four people contacted us, maybe five. And I asked our social media girl. Uh, I was like, you know what? Just for shits and giggles, why don't you tag Ashney in this post and see what happens? And at that point, I think like over 90 people contacted us for T-shirts, and I had to get more printed because of how many people requested one. But it, the amount of support just from that alone was unbelievable. And all it takes is just one person to just it's yeah, one snowflake can cause an avalanche of destruction. and that's yeah, it's unbelievable to see the amount of support that we've been given and shown just from the public. Like I've never had somebody come up to me and go, "Wow, this is a stupid idea."
Yeah, no.
And every single person is like, "Shut up, here's a donation, whatever you need to do what you want to do here." And it kind of restores my faith in humanity because of what y- on one side you see the shelter environment and you're like, damn, this is so exhausting. Ugh. And then the other side you see all the gamers and the support from everybody else, and you're like, fuck, I gotta keep going. and so and so you do. So yeah, it's yeah, I can't even put it into words because it's just a great feeling. And I've never experienced something like this, and the community is amazing. And yeah, eh, I'm glad we met through that. I didn't actually know that you found out about us through that. So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know what? It goes to show you it was a smart marketing move.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of people reach out. The issue is that like I'm not sure what we can even do with them at this point just because we're like at ground level, and it's difficult to determine what somebody can do without needing to, conjure up more resources for it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I never thought I'd be doing so much paperwork in my life, but here I am. And but it's so rewarding because everybody's just it's just been incredible. The community and the support, and like I said, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think we were gonna hit the 1,500 goal, um, during that event, and you guys quadrupled it. So that alone was just, like, mind-blowing. Um, and yeah, it's just I'm extremely thankful for, um, I this is gonna eh, I I'm extremely thankful for having my life saved because if I if I got the thing that I wanted to get 4 years ago, Pause Your Game wouldn't be a thing right now. It just yeah, it's it's crazy to think about that yeah, if I died that this wouldn't be possible. And because of people like you and our stream team and even random people in the community that just hear about us. It's again like the support is just mind blowing. So
Well, I, you know, I'd have to say, like, the amount of work it takes to start an organization like this. So we're all very thankful that you're here too. Because I
yeah,
don't know a lot of people that would have actually done that.
it's I'll tell you there was a couple times in 2020 where I thought about just like shutting it down and taking a break, but at the end of the day, if that happens and we don't move forward and we don't keep going, then animals are going to die. There's 1.5 million of them that are killed per year in shelters, and if if I can inspire a community to start volunteering and start doing more at their local shelter, start advocating for the animals in the shelters, getting involved in local politics, because again, it's it, if I can do that, um, then yeah, I've succeeded in my mission. Um, I'm yeah, it's it's bitter. Like it's trying to figure out what wording I want to use. Uh, I guess at the end of the day, I'm thankful for being saved, and I'm extremely thankful for diving more into animal rescue, because 4 years ago, I was completely ignorant. I was one of those people that didn't know about, fostering, didn't know about, volunteering. I had no idea how many animals were killed in shelters in the United States alone, let alone in other countries too. I was one of those people, and now that I'm not, it's the will to live is strong again, whereas before it wasn't. I was in a business and niche that I absolutely dreaded and hated, um, and I still do. So it's it's nice to find something that even though it's I wouldn't say it's monetarily rewarding, it's emotionally and spiritually rewarding. And at the end of the day, that's really kind of all I care about is being happy in here and in here, and you know it's, it's saving them is all that matters. So, and
Well,
I don't know many people that would do as much that uh, do as much as what we're trying to do, and yeah, it's it's going to be a journey and it's going to be a battle, and especially with shelter reform, it's the stress is going to be incredibly high and unbelievable, and I've decided that it's worth it because they're worth it. So, you know, got to use my voice because I didn't have one before, and found them, and they don't have one. So, yeah, I get to use mine for them, and yeah, it's been pretty cool. So,
so I like to end podcast with a final question.
mhm,
Now, I know on Twitch your name is Josh Tells Time, but you'll
correct.
be more prominent on the actual Pause Your Games channel. Um,
Oh, yeah. One of the shows that we're planning on doing 3 shows for now, maybe expanding to 5 one day a week.
mhm.
One of the shows I can talk about is about pet loss and animal bereavement. And my therapist, believe it or not, is going to be on the show with me to talk about pet bereavement and pet loss and compassion
That's
fatigue
pretty
in animal
impressive.
rescue. Yeah. He actually wants to eventually join the board. So
That's
he's way
awesome.
into it. Yeah, when your own therapist is yeah, you're a supporter like that, it's pretty incredible to think about. Like I said, every single person that I've talked to this mission about, they're like, "Shut up and tell me more." And yeah, so we're gonna call it the continue screen, and we're probably gonna have it on Fridays. And yeah, it's gonna be me and him just talking to about pet loss and compassion fatigue, and if anybody has any issues or whatever, they can join the chat and we can talk. And eventually he will be able to practice nationally. So yeah, it's like I said, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that's going on. It's just we can't talk about it. But
No, but this is all
it
very, very exciting.
right?
So,
And
so,
yeah.
so let me ask you this then. If so, the
Mhm.
question I like to end the podcast with is what other streamer or stream channel would you want to get a raid from?
um Ye I don't know how to answer this because I myself am not a streamer, and if you like, I don't really watch streams consistently either because, they're 24/7. Animal rescue is 24/7. So when I sit down and actually get to like time for myself, I take that for myself. But ooh, um personally,
Because there are, and keep in mind there are a lot of gaming companies that have their
mhm,
own channels too.
that's true. Um Like a dream?
Yeah.
Ooh. Um, well, okay. I grew up playing Halo. Uh, like my fondest gaming memories are Halo 2 Xbox Live with the people that I went to middle school and then high school with, and then college. Jeez. Um, so yeah, I would say probably Bungie would be the that would be pretty damn cool if we
That's a
did
good
something
one.
with them. Yeah. I'm totally a Halo fanboy, and I know people probably just turned off this podcast when I said that.
Well,
I don't really
if
care. I
they make it to
love
the
that
end,
game.
that's fine.
Yeah. I absolutely love that game. So yeah, them.
All
Yeah,
right. I like
let's
that.
go with them.
Well, thank you so much for being my
Mhm.
second guest.
Of
And
course.
I'll make sure to link all the information where they can find out more about Pause Your Game, as well as more
Awesome.
about you. And we will wrap this up.
I thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, and it's been a blast.
Have a great night, guys.